Hello.
All right. Yes, dancing along backstage, always.
Welcome on all to Humpday Q&A.
Hi, Simon.
Another season. Right. I think Matthew's going to join us as well. I just said he can come join us. So we'll see him in a few minutes. Right.
Cool.
Yeah, let's do some introductions and we go on with the show.
Sure.
Let's jump over that. My name's Simon Lightfoot, Flutter Community Leader, CTO at Dev Angels London. And you can find me on Twitter and other social media at Dev Angels London. Randall.
I'm Randall Schwartz, and I seem to be everywhere. But for this particular show, I am the question magician, which means I am watching the live chat to see what's going on. And if you put a Q: in front of a question, I will flag it for us to answer as a panel. I'm also a Dart and Flutter Google developer expert for, I think, roughly 7 years now, since the beginning of the program. So been helping people out all over the world all the time.
And Danielle.
Hey, I'm Danielle Cox. I'm the Flutter tech lead at a startup called Ardly, and I'm one of the organizers of the Flutteristas. So yeah, hi, and I can attest to Randall being everywhere. I mean, I would go to Flutter Atlanta, he'd be there. It's like
film,
virtually, but he'd be there.
Do you remember that film, Everywhere All at Once, or whatever it was?
Yes.
And that's Randall.
I didn't see it, but
he's in every dimension, he's in every reality.
Exactly.
Oh. Okay.
Right. John can't be with us today, but he'll be with us, I'm sure, another time. Do's and don'ts. Randall, go for it.
So be nice, be respectful, be constructive. Remember that the people on the other end of the chat are human beings, not bots, for the most part. So you will hurt their feelings if you aren't respectful. Don't post anything that's adult content or rude or offensive. Don't advertise or promote anything. The only people that can promote things are people with their faces on the screen. If your face is not on the screen here, you don't get to promote it. Also, you can't paste URLs in their chat at all. So that you can't promote things that way either. Don't spam. Don't post the same thing again and again. It's annoying. But worse than that, if you post a question and then post that same question some 10 or 15 minutes later, you lose your place in line. So we're trying to answer them in the order that they're received. But if you say the same question, then we received that one later now. So that's the way that works. Harassment of any kind, not tolerated. We do have banhammers and we can use them. And do have a good time, though. I enjoy sharing the information I have with everybody in the world. And, I hope it helps you so you also have a good time as well.
Indeed. If you want to post some code, then you can share it with us by going to gist.new, pop it in, and that'll take you to GitHub's gist page, pop in your description and everything else, and name the file something.dart, and paste your code, type out your questions, put your comments in there, whatever you need. And then you create a public gist, and you don't copy the whole URL, just the hash, the bit that's highlighted in 0.6. Pop that in the chat, and then we can then see that code and do code reviews, answer questions, do whatever you want, and all that kind of stuff. So well, there you go. Welcome to the stream, Matthew. There you
go. Yes. Hey, everybody. I am Matthew, also known as on the interwebs Makerinator. I like making weird stuff out of Flutter. So yeah, feel free to look that up. But yes, I can also confirm that Randall is everywhere all at once. I just went to the restroom and Randall was standing there, and I was like, "What are you doing here, man?"
I had duty that day. I had duty. Oh, did I say that out loud?
No. But yeah, super excited. Thanks for having me on the show, guys. I love hanging out with y'all.
Cool.
So did Danielle, were you on last week? You weren't, were you?
I was not on last week.
Yeah. And Matthew, did you see last week's episode?
I was there for the first hour of it. I did see that they posted the videos for FlutterCon, and I watched my own speech and cringed at how I look on camera, and then sent it to all my friends. So
yeah. Don't worry, you get used to it. I was gonna say we finished off the coding on that recycling stuff, and it works really well. So we actually, so we do build. We actually called it the custom build flow with an custom element and everything like that. So we could look into that. Someone after we posted added scaling to it, so you can like zoom in and zoom out and all that kind of stuff as well. And it does the recycling of what's outside the view. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Whether or not we want to continue with that or to start something new. So if you have any we're going to do some live coding. The first hour will be questions and then live coding. So get your questions in now, the queue in front of them. Other than that, put some coding ideas in there. If you've got a coding idea, let us know. Or you've got a question about something, and we'll give it a go. Otherwise, I guess maybe we'll see how we maybe put limits on that scrolling and do some other stuff like that.
Cool.
While we're getting started, I'll just share my latest adventure of what I'm working on. So I'm gearing up for DroidCon Europe or in Berlin, and I am working on like adding some stuff to my maker presentation, all that stuff. And I'm currently doing work with Bluetooth right now, and that has been Simon is laughing because he knows the purgatory that I have been in for the past couple weeks. But no,
don't try and make it backwards compatible. Just to let you know.
Yeah. No, well, what I'm trying to do is use iBeacons. So Apple's iBeacon format, which is similar to what the Find My stuff.
You got to deal with the GATs, right? You got to deal with the low energy GATs for that, right?
Yep. So I have been trying to, because the beacons that I bought from AliExpress are all identically programmed, so I can't tell them apart, and I need to be able to tell them apart for what I'm doing. And so I've been going down the rabbit hole of like trying to reprogram these things, and I burned one of them out with an ST link before realizing I could just reprogram them with an app. It's been fun times. So,
but it's not just that. You can do like if they give you get no instructions, like I'll put 5 volts on it. You know, when it was a special like 2-volt system or something, you know. Like.
Oh yeah. I let the magic smoke straight out. Like I was like, oh, it just needs 3.3 volts. It did not need 3.3 volts. I will tell you that. Or I put it in the wrong place.
Those a lot of news tech is all like 1.5, 2 volts stuff like that. It's crazy how because they run on like pico amps, right? So nano amps, those kind of like low energy devices. So yeah, you can't just go whacking. Big current onto those smaller circuits, and not good idea.
Yep. So anyway, I've replaced a second order from AliExpress to replace all the stuff that I've burned out, but it's coming along nicely. And if you want to see what all that's about, hopefully I will actually have it done and ready when FlutterCon Europe rolls around. So
yeah, I go work on mine.
I have not had the energy to watch mine yet, so.
I need to find the URL. Was that in last week's show? The
what
DroidCon things, because they aren't on the main FlutterCon site. Because I went.
No,
they are. I see what you mean. No, it's a they got a YouTube channel for DroidCon and FlutterCon.
Oh, okay, right. Oh, I remember that now.
They are on the main DroidCon website under the content section, but I'll post it in here. 1 second.
And this time I'll save it. So
FlutterCon
I want to
USA.
see. I want to see how much like a zombie I look like for my entire talk.
So this is a playlist for everyone. That's the FlutterCon USA 2024 playlist, and then there's also 2020. That's 2024. Right. Sorry, that's the thing again.
Oh.
Then you've also got the FlutterCon EU 2024. This is last year's one, and then FlutterCon USA 2025 is also in there. So there you go. So you got lots and lots of links there to go, and lots of content. I'm sure you'll find something from someone that's interesting and
Danielle's speech, her speech on what was the name of the game that you're recreating? Rogue. Oh my gosh, it was so good. And it made me want to go play Rogue now. Like that's the thing.
That's the text one, right? Rogue, the original text.
Yes, dungeon. Exactly. Yes. Yeah. It's the original roguelike because it is Rogue.
Yeah, but I was going to say that's still being developed, right? If I remember rightly, isn't it?
No, not really.
No, isn't it? I seem to remember the author's been spending like 20 years like working on that game or something. There was a whole documentary on it.
Are you thinking about? I think you're thinking of Dwarf Fortress.
Dwarf Fortress. Yeah, I know it's Dwarf Fortress. You're right. Sorry. Yeah. It's very similar. Yeah.
Which I tried to play Dwarf Fortress once, and I'm like, I have enough complexity in my day job. I don't have the time to figure out what's going on in Dwarf Fortress.
I remember. So I love the way that those systems work though, because you use the tile-based system, and then it's like I don't know about if it's yours, Daniel, I haven't seen you talk, but and you'd have ASCII character codes that meant like what the object was. And I remember it just reminded me of doing some original IBM games back in like QBasic, and where you just had like the text screen mode, and you would do the special characters, like the little smiley face was in like the enhanced ASCII set as like your main character moving around the screen, and like you're so limited to what you could do. It's like use characters, a T, like the old original Spectrum games were like, oh, T, like E means enemy, and you see like E's moving around the screen. Right? Like,
and one of the, I mean, but like going back to my Commodore 64 days, the first roguelike, this is before I even knew about Rogue, but the first roguelike I played was called Sword of Fargawal. And what it was basically like Rogue, but instead of just the ASCII characters that you would normally see like in Rogue, they created their own font. And so they were using a font that had like the monsters like built into the font. So it was still an ASCII based game, except for the fact that it's because the font had changed, it looked a lot different.
Yeah, so you could do that on. I remember doing that on the ZX Spectrum. You do like character redefinitions. So you give it the new. I remember having graph paper, and you would literally draw in the box of the graph paper, and then you go, oh, you work at the binary for each row of the 8 bits, and then you put them in data, and then you can then load them in using the command and shit like that. Like, pardon me.
Fun days. For sure.
You kids have it all too easy. You kids.
Honestly, yeah, but we talk about it like this, right? But it's no far removed from what we do now, right? Like the process of, oh, I need to go load some data that literally extracts into a bitmap format in memory, like a JPEG decompressed into a bitmap format, and then that's what we draw on the screen with a paint command. It gets sent to the graphics card. It draws it. It's not fun. I was thinking about this.
I know this is a Flutter Fluttercast, but I gotta digress for a second. Danielle, since you talked about your Commodore 64 days, did you ever get a digital magazine called Lodestar?
I don't know that I did, but I mean I definitely get the concept. Only you would type L and then like a capital O, which is like some other different like a little thing like this.
So there was my first computer I got when I was 10 years old, and it was a Commodore 64, and it was hopelessly outdated by that point. But one of my dad's coworkers gave it to us because he was upgrading it, didn't need it anymore. And it came with a giant pile of floppy disk and most of them were from a digital magazine called Lodestar. And Lodestar was exactly what it sounds like. It had games on there. It had little applications you could use. It had letters to the editor that you could read through. Like I just spent hours and hours and hours on my Commodore, messing around with Lodestar stuff. And it was great because like there were tutorials on how to do basic stuff. And, that's where I first got interested in programming. I was like, oh, I can make this stuff. And yeah, it was, so anyway.
Well, see, I started on a VIC-20 with a tape drive.
Okay.
Not even floppies. Back when that was like state of the art for home stuff. And I mean, but some of the fun stuff that would happen back then is like, I remember like creating a simple little game that was like the kind with it, you're down at the bottom of the water and there's a ship going across and you shoot at it. And as soon as you would shoot, everything would slow down because now it's doing more things,
Yep.
Stuff like that. But
I'll never forget. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
On that point, on that point, if you actually look at, it's really amazing to me. If you go look at the original, there's some development video. Actually, there's some videos on YouTube around this, I remember. But there's it's around the original Atari 2600 and how you'd make games in that. You would literally change the registers to output graphics, and you would bit flip them as the raster scan happened. That's how you would output graphics, right? And that you had that because there was not enough memory to store like a bitmap on the screen. Like there was no like that. So it was a case of you had to be exact in the way that you did the game and timing and everything. Like, it's
well, and then the stuff they figured out that was never intended, like Pac-Man, where they had more sprites on there than were allowed because they would basically just swap them out.
Yeah, you used to do that with the Commodore 64, right? Because it had a limit. They had a hardware rasterization of sprites, and you had I think it was let's say just say 12, you could put on the screen at once. And what you would do is as you got the interrupt for the scan line, you would switch out the graphics, so you could only have 12 on the same scan line at once. So you get flickering if you had more like that. But other than that, you could have as like hundreds on the screen if you just had enough CPU power to like toggle them on and off.
Never tried.
I remember the chess cartridge for the 2600 when it was doing its move in order to steal back time and not spend all of its time driving the screen, which took 80% of the CPU. They would just flash random colors over and over again while it was thinking, and then it would come up with this move. So, great way to steal the time back.
There's an effect which let you control this. It's called on most. We're just filling time, by the way, people. Like we're just filling time for you to put questions in. Get your questions.
We have 8 questions.
There was a remember like so when CRT screens you had the active area of the screen, right, where the pixels were when it gets red, but anything else around the outside was called the border, right? And most computers would have the border color, which if you changed it, what it meant was the overscan area, that's the area that's not active, would just be painted that color. But then if you had the interrupt on, or you just did a timer on 16 kilohertz, you could then change that border color, and every line of the screen could have a different color on the borders. Yep. And people would do these effects. So you had like rolling bars along the edge of the screen and all this kind of stuff by just literally timing the changing of the color register. So
it's so funny. I got called into the principal's office one and only one time in my entire, and this is related, I promise, guys. I got called into the principal's office once, and it's because when I was in high school, I got the senior superlative for biggest brown nose or a whole 9 yards. But so like I was by the time I hit high school, like there was one computer programming class, and I'm like, okay, I want to take this thing. And it turned out to be BASIC, which is like I'd been programming in BASIC since I was 10 because like, you know, the Commodore. And so I'm sitting through this class and I'm just bored out of my mind. Like I am bored beyond belief because I'm like, we're all like, you know, going through like really, really like, you know, it wasn't designed for me. Right. So my buddy sitting next to me was Chris. And so I created an infinite loop that's put Chris is a dork on the screen over and over again. Okay. Yeah. And so he looked at it, he laughed, and then I bumped the print screen button. And I don't know what caused this bug, but it made it look like it was going in reverse when every time you hit the print screen button. So I'm like, look at this. And I keep mashing the print screen button. What I didn't realize, it was actually sending it to the printer. So like I leave class, whatever, and I get called into the principal's office, and there's like a ream of paper dropped on the desk of just Chris is a dork printed over and over and over again on every single page. And the principal was like accusing me of hacking the school's computer system.
Nice. Nah.
Yeah, it must have been slowing down because slowing down the frequency a little bit, which made it look like reverse. That's wild.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say I've liked Galaga for a while. This is not for my 2600, but this is from is like the Atari cartridge.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Wow.
So yeah, for my 7800.
Well, we do have some questions if we want to get started.
This is a Flutter show.
Before we answer, I will say so they're I think I told you about this before. I think it was with you, Matt. But there's a company called Analog, and Analog do this. I think it's about the UK way, so GUE at the end, Analog. And they do retro consoles, but they remake them with like completely new, plastics and parts, and they use FPGAs to not do emulation but do everything in hardware. They're really cool. And they've done a Game Boy one, and they've done Mega Drive and Nintendo's SNES and a few other ones. They've just done the Nintendo 64. And it plays all the original cartridges. You can play with original controllers if you want on this new hardware. Like it's 100% compatible, and they've made it so it's 4K output on screen, and so you can play on your 4K TV. So not only can you just play N64 games in 4K, which is just unbelievable, but they've made a rasterizer which mimics the CRT, but on 4K resolution. Yeah, nice. Yeah. So basically, you get the games how they're originally meant to be viewed, but still at the higher resolution, right? So you still get the same artifact, and it looks amazing. So mine's getting delivered this month. I can't wait.
Oh, yeah, I want to see it, man. When you get it, I want to
Mhm.
see it.
Oh, yeah.
I
The controllers arrived early.
ooh,
Wow.
nice.
These have actually got
So
the original layout. That's
there's
the
a
original
YouTuber called Retro Renew that just bought Commodore. I don't know if you guys are aware of this.
It's not Retro Renew. It's Perifractic.
Okay, never mind. I've got the wrong YouTuber, but there was a
No,
guy
that's
who
right.
bought Commodore, and it's back from the dead.
He did it as there's a group of them that did it. Yeah, but yeah.
Okay.
He got all. Do you know what he actually did though? He also got the original people that worked at Commodore back in the day to be on the board. So like, kind of gone full circle. And yeah, they just released the Commodore 64 Ultimate, new build machine, and they're talking about Amiga stuff now, which I can't wait for. But I mean, it's nice to be a standard, but it's also about like just bringing. So back what we're talking about back in the day, it's kind of interesting. When you can, I think this is I spoke to someone yesterday about this, but when you've got so many options available to you on computers, you're going to get this. What's the analysis paralysis and kind of information overload as well. These are very common things to get when you're working with software. But back in when you were running like on one of these machines, because it was so limited in what you were doing and you were controlling the hardware directly, you had a lot more open. Like it was not just what's the word? You were forced to do things optimally because you just couldn't get away with not doing them that way. You learned a lot of good things by just doing it this way. And I think that's one of those things that I think we're missing now. There's so many. It's kind of funny. Is that I remember people asked. I remember some people telling me or asking this question of me. It's like when Windows 90, it was Word 97. I think it was at the time like Office 97 or whatever it was around the time, and like how fast it is on like an XP machine or whatever. And then you go install like Office, the next version of Office, like Office 2003 or whatever the hell it was, 2010, and it's how slow it is. And it's like, but it does the same thing, and it's like you know. And yes, you've added a new feature, but actually, what's happened there is just the coding is a lot more sloppy, right? Like they had to build it to a certain degree back then because they had to run on limited hardware. So even though the computers are getting faster, there's so much more code and layers of abstraction, everything else that goes into software now, that it's not any faster to run on it. In fact, it could be slower, which is just like nuts. So,
it's interesting. I've got a dual boot setup on my laptop for Ubuntu and Windows, and it is insane on the exact same hardware how much faster the Ubuntu installation is. It is just absolutely bonkers. But
yeah, and I think that this also, but this is I've seen this in I think we may have all experienced this, which is like the kind of idea of deadlines get out, and there is a kind of essence of what people might have spent a year writing previously, right? You don't get more than a month to that kind of build or something. So it's like we have the tools available to make it work quicker and everything else, but it doesn't make the code or it run any better, right? So there's almost a kind of weird, what's the word? Like it's what's expected of people now, right? Like what's expected of the fast moving pace of society and software, and especially the development sector, software development sector. It moves so quick that you just don't get the time to actually give people like the best experience.
There's no time to optimize. It's like get the feature written, ship it out the door. There's no time to optimize anything. Yeah. So, yeah.
Shall we start question?
Yeah. Let's start. Yeah.
Is that what I'm here for?
We could come
This week in old geezers. Yes, exactly. Although I'm really the only one who qualifies for that.
I was just reading all about this Commodore 64 Ultimate. So with 128 megabytes of RAM.
Is my camera feed okay for everyone?
It seems
okay. So I think it's me because like everyone is stuttering for me, and I don't know if I'm stuttering for you guys, but whatever the issue is, okay, then it's fine. I'm not going to worry about it then. So it's on my end. Whatever.
You're supposed to stop BitTorrenting when you're joining the show. Stop it.
Oh, darn it!
It's the missus watching Disney Plus on 4K resolution.
Yeah, that's true. It's like all those other things we're now streaming because we
actually cause a problem. But yeah, no, I accidentally left my eye patch off to the side. I did take it off before we got started. So no, I'm kidding. Let's get started.
All right.
Cool.
I don't quite understand this question, but it might be a continuation of a question he might have had with you before. Hey, Simon, sir, how do you figure it out? Right after seeing design, this widget is perfect for this design. Might need clarification.
I don't have any context. Maybe you can re-ask your question with a bit more
Yeah.
context.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, you mean, I think he means like, how do I know that this widget is perfect to solve this problem? And that's just using the widgets,
Practice.
right?
Yeah,
Practice.
practice.
So what you can do is just read the API docs. I know it sounds api.flutter.dev, go type widget in, find all the classes that implement like widget, or okay, the multi-child widget. Okay, what implements multi-child widget? And just read the docs and understand. And then I think I was talking to, actually it was a Scott about this actually a while ago now. And it's like, I think as a developer, over the years of working with so many different frameworks and SDKs and such, like you learn, it's almost like, you know, you can learn to be good at something like, I don't know, weaving or sewing or whatever it might be. But as a software developer, you get really good at reading docs, right? You understand, you put yourself into how much, if I was to build it, I'd build it like this. Therefore, I see how that should work, right? So you almost, after reading so much, you get into the situation of, it's a lot easier to read the docs, but you need to get there. And to get there, you need to practice. So just practice. I know it sounds horrible, but that's just.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. Like my way of figuring this out is by using the wrong widget numerous times and realizing this doesn't work until like I'm a kinesthetic. So you know.
Yeah, and I think that there's also an aspect nowadays of, we talk about practice, but yeah, like you can use AI to help you, right? Like I'm trying to do this. What widget should I use, right? I'm using the standard Flutter library. What widget should I use? And see what it says, right?
You know what? Actually, what was that? You know what? Actually, I have the thing that has been most useful for me in implementing AI into my workflow is to ask it, please suggest a few different approaches and the pros and cons of each. And that has actually made me better because it's brought up some stuff that I didn't necessarily think about before. And even if I don't necessarily take that approach, it's something, it expands my mind to different ways of looking at the same problem. So
the other way to learn new things is that the amount of recent Flutter YouTube content is always increasing. And stick with stuff that's been published in the last 6 months to a year at most, unless you talk to an expert like me about whether this is still valid or not. But a part of programming is the art of the programming. In other words, understanding kind of what's come before you and how they're being used and things like that. So study other people's code, especially people you respect. Yeah, very cool.
Watch widget of the week, things like that. I got a.
What is this noise?
Is that coming from?
I've got work happening in my house. Sounds like this. Stop for a second. Oh. Okay. Watch things like widget of the week and try to figure out how you could use that widget. So try to come up with uses for it.
Yep.
And then you'll get better at it. And I'm going to go back.
I think. I was going to say something that something I can say I've learned from, and I think Randall Sills said this before, is help answer questions online. Right?
Absolutely.
You've got a problem, like use some of your spare time, not to solve your problem. See, here's the problem. Okay, hang on, let me just rephrase this a little bit. You're working for one company. You're working for one company for 6 years, and you're working on one code base that does one thing, right? Or it does, you know, whatever it is, right? Now, what you've just done is you've limited your experience to just that. Right? And you're never going to learn any new techniques or any new things. You go, oh, there's no video player in your app. Well, then you're never going to learn about video playback on Flutter, right? So what you need to do is take some of your spare time and build either your own projects or try APIs out. Just go through the Flutter APIs and go, Flutter widget tree or the widgets in the SDK and go, oh, I've never tried that before. I'm going to go try and build something with that widget, right? Even if it's just a mess around with an app like we do every week. But whoa, you've just learned something. Here's how I can effectively use this widget. And the next time you have a problem, you go, there's that widget that I've used that would fit the problem. And it's the same go, if you answer questions online, then what you're going to be doing, you didn't have that problem to solve before because it wasn't in your remit of your normal work. But now you've got that problem and you can try and solve it. Now you've learned something, right? And now that's what even if you don't fix it, you've tried, right? You've learned something about the process when you tried, right?
Yeah.
We also release notes.
Go ahead.
Go on. I was going to say, we also have, like, for example, just thinking of it now, because we've got the release notes now for 335. And if you look through the release notes, see what they've added and try to figure out, well, what does this do differently than others? Or even, like if you look at what was deprecated, you're breaking changes and stuff in here. Like for example, they changed the radio to have a radio group and stuff like that. And that you might not have looked at radio widgets, but if you look at that and see what they're doing, that's going to help you learn and say, oh, well, that's really the behavior I need here. And so you'll learn how to use the ones you need to use that way.
And if I could just humbly suggest, don't make your first foray into trying to learn something you're not used to, Bluetooth communication. That would be my one recommendation.
Yep, absolutely. All right, next question. Let's do it. Building a Flutter Flame game like Nokia's Building Blocks using Flame Isolate for stacking and power physics, but the performance is still poor. Any tips to improve it? Get faster hardware? What?
So I believe I responded to this question in chat last week. So I'm going to let everyone else talk. My response was, don't try to write a custom physics engine. Forge 2D is out there and it's fantastic and it'll do everything you need to do. But I would love to hear some other perspectives on that.
Craig on his Thursday show, Observable Flutter, did a flame game over like a bunch of like a zombie flame game kind of thing. And there were a few times where he had had a guest come on that actually really worked with him on optimizing a lot of stuff, like not recreating your coordinates every time or things like that. So I would suggest even if you look at that, you don't even look at the beginning when he's first building it, but look when he's got the guests on there telling him how to optimize it and stuff like that. I think that would be helpful for maybe finding these little hidden ways where where you might be causing something to recalculate every time when you don't need to. And there's some examples of how to get around that in there.
Caching is important, and knowing when to invalidate the cache is also tricky sometimes. Yes.
Well, if you're going to cache, you have to know when to invalidate. Otherwise,
yeah, right. No, hey, you're making up. You invalidate it every minute. It's just hang on to that stuff. All right, on to the next question.
I was just thinking. There's also just for those that don't know, there was an AMA yesterday for the material decoupling the material and Cupertino library. So if that's something that's been up talking recently. So if that was interesting, go search that out. You might have your answers.
It's an upcoming question.
You know what? Can we just jump back to the previous question for half a second? I just realized that I do have something I want to add. I don't know if you're on Bluefire's Discord server, but they are a really positive community and they are really helpful people that know the Flame engine inside and out. My last Flame project, I peppered them with questions and they were very patient with me. So I would, if you're not on their Discord server, I would highly suggest maybe hopping on and they could potentially give you some better expertise.
I'm also going to say it might be good. Is this open source? Post send us a as we said earlier, a gist with like the link to the repo and other bits in it, and then maybe we can have a look at it. But I mean, if performance is poor, it's not Flutter and Dart, it's how you're using it, right? Because at the end of the day there's enough power in your CPU, on your mobile device or on your desktop to do all the stuff that you needed to do. So it's you're making things way more complicated in your physics calculations or however you're doing that, or like there's ways of solving physics properly and truthfully that are gonna take forever, right? And you take a lot of shortcuts when doing it for games, right? And then on second to that is it's like how you're actually doing that. So what you might be bottlenecking on at the moment with the isolate stuff is like sharing the data back and forth, like how you getting data over to the isolate for it to do calculations and then return the result. Is that how you're doing it? Because in essence, it should just be, here's a few little bits of data model that you're sending. It does the physics and sends you back the result. If you're now sending all of your model objects and like my entire game state and chucking that over there, well, that's probably going to be slow if you're doing that on every frame, right? So have a think about how you're approaching your problem. Yeah.
And I will say, I spent a healthy chunk of my life playing that game on a Nokia. And was totally addicted for a while. So I definitely want to see you release it.
What's it called?
Building Blocks.
I'm going to look that. What is it, like a Lego thing?
If it's the one I'm thinking of, you drop stories on a building as it goes.
Oh, yeah.
And
see, you shouldn't need any isolate stuff to do that kind of thing. The physics that are built into Flame and like everything else is It's way easy.
That's
enough
why
to
I
run
recommended Forge 2D. My recommendation in chat was Forge 2D because I can handle everything that's involved in that game. And also physics editor from Code and Web for defining your vectors for the collision detection. So.
Okay, next question. Let's do it. Can any AI package communicate with providers' state management so it can get data either API or provider? Yeah, I mean, yeah. What's your question here? So yeah, it can.
Any AI package communicate with providers, state management, so that they can get data either API. Yeah, I mean, like that's just you giving that state.
That's the way providers are used. Yes.
Yeah. Well, no. I think it's more about like, can any AI? There's no drop-in thing. You have to code it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got your providers over here, and you've got your AI package where you can send it stuff. And if you're trying to do like an MCP thing where it's like you want to access data, so you ask it, like it can be asked a question, then it goes, okay, what's the current user? You can go fetch that from your providers. You can do that, but you need to like code. That's your app. That's specific to your app. So that's what you code.
What was the package? I believe it was Chris Sells, but don't hold me to this. Showed off at FlutterCon. It was like a Dart package that specifically unifies connecting with different API models. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Hey, what we can say is we posted links to the videos earlier. Go look at that.
Yeah.
I gotta go watch.
We'll go back to that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Next thing. Let's do it. What's your view on the Flutter decoupling material and Cupertino? So yes, I said we have a question about this coming up.
Hey, everyone's got to do double thumbs up. Come on. There you go.
Oh, I love it. Absolutely.
And you get the you have that turned on. You have the magic turned on.
So I mean, at the end of the day, what's the problem? Why would you not do it?
Yeah.
So
I'm astonished it wasn't done from the beginning.
So well, I'm not. But there's a reason for that, right? But that's because when it was Sky and everything else, like it was totally owned by Google. They're not putting themselves into a position where they're thinking they're going to be supporting a bunch of stuff. And then they know that if you use it, you can build whatever pixels you want. Like, here's a rendering engine, it's got render, you can do whatever you want, right? And I think now then it's got out to a larger amount of people. It's like, well, not everyone can do that type of coding, so they need to make it more open. Now, coming back to the decoupling part, yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is, this is the same problem that happened on Android, right? Which was Android shipped with a bunch of widgets built into the framework, and then they needed to iterate on those widgets, like add action bar and whatever else they need to do. And they're like, well, you have to wait till the next version. You have to upgrade your OS to get the new widgets, which was like, what? Right? So since we ship all that with our app, that's all fine now. And that's how they solved it as well. So on Android, they went, okay, let's make the Compat library. Let's make the it was originally called Compat and then turned into another name that I've just forgotten off the top of my tongue. But anyway, a whole set of libraries that you build your app with that ship the widgets within your app. And this is the same way here. What we're talking about is instead of having to wait for a release of Flutter to get new widget changes and fixes, I extract them out, have them separate, and then when the new version of material, new bugs get fixed in Cupertino, boom, you've got the next package version just include, right? Splitting it out, the framework that's not core is exactly what the Flutter team should be doing for everything, right?
Yeah.
So like things like
I have to run.
Oh, you gotta go.
Sorry.
All right.
I gotta go.
No worries. Well, see you again in time. So for example, let's say we got this actually happened. So let's say we got 2D scrolling or whatever was added. The base widget that fundamentally gives you the 2D scrolling stuff, that's inside the framework. However, the implementations of it, that exists in the package. And that's what we've got with that as well. So I think like that's where you need to kind of start thinking about is like, what can you do? And I think secondly on this point, and I'm sure they'll do it with Material and Cupertino, but that is that the official API docs, first-party packages like that, should be included in the standard API docs. So they're still considered packages, they're still linked properly, so you can find everything in one place. I think we just coming back on that, just a slight tangent there, and that is Golang. What other one? There's another one. A few other like languages. They have packages and they have like a docs website. A lot of them have. I think there's one for Golang. I forget what it is now. There's a couple for Python as well, where the docs are generated like online open source for everything, and they all interconnect. So it's really easy to find packages and other materials that relate to something. I think we probably want to be seeing some more of that, just to kind of help the ecosystem. Anyway, I'll shut up. Right, yeah, that's what I think of that.
Next, let's do it. Next, what are common use cases for the different box widgets? And how to choose the right one for the task in your layout.
I think it's like size box, fitted box,
again.
limited box. How to choose the right one for task or layout.
Practice.
Yeah, I mean, like you want to. I mean, I don't think there's anything like you want to scale something, use fitted box. You want to size something, use size box.
Yep.
You want to decorate, use box decorator, right? Decorate box or whatever, right? Like
it's so specific to the specific thing that you're trying to do. Like it's really difficult to to know.
What I have a hard time doing when I'm selecting layout stuff is understanding whether the child will want to be as big as it can be inside this or as little as it can be inside this. And it's not clear. And the problem is it's not inherent in the box protocol. It's inherent in the combinations of the box protocol plus whatever the widget wants to do.
It's mainly about the constraints coming out and then what the widget wants to do. So it's a combination of if a widget's being given unconstrained bounds, then it will fill the center widget is specifically designed to maximize its use case, and then center its child within those bounds. Obvious, right? However, that means that the constraints coming down need to be constrained in some way. Otherwise, it's just going to push it out to fill the content, right?
Yeah.
So that's where things like you can use unconstrained box. There's one for the unconstrained box, and what that allows you to do is only have a constraint in one axis, like vertical or horizontal, and still center without it pushing out in one of those boundaries, right? So yeah, I think again it's just practice with the layout system, right? Yeah. It does kind of irk me though, because there's certain widgets that will push out and fill the space, and then other ones that won't, right? And I think that there's a case of there's no identifying mark or anything within the SDK that tells you that. You learn that from experience. So maybe we're missing something there, to be honest. Maybe there's something we could file back to the Flutter team and say, it'd be really helpful if you had this.
I drove by, it's sort of unrelated, but I drove by a construction truck yesterday, and it had that yellow and black stripy thing on its rear bumper. And I said, oh, the truck overflowed.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
That's how my mind thinks, right? Oh, how did the truck overflow?
No, that's everyone's mind. You see it? Yeah.
You put too much in the truck and now it's over. Yep,
exactly. All right, on to the next one, I guess. Yeah, because we're good for this. This is how I run my app from VS Code. I think I already answered this in the chat, but run without debugging. And when I run the app, it works fine. But when I make a change and save and reload, it gets stuck. You got to run it in debug mode for a hot reload or a hot restart to work.
Yeah.
You can't. Why are you skipping debug mode here? That doesn't make any sense. I always just launch it with F5 and there it goes, or whatever your key is on your particular IDE.
Yeah. Why would you? This whole running without debug just gets me. Like I see so many people just run the app, and I'm like, so if it crashes, you don't want to know why it crashed or where it crashed or how.
I just want to code blindly. I want to vibe code everything.
Okay, to play devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
There are times when it's useful to catch the occasional race condition. That's going to happen in release mode versus debug mode.
Sure. Well, actually, running like that isn't in the same in release mode, right? Like it's not running with the dash. But I know I appreciate what you're saying. I think that there's but that's the problem, right? Great, but then you're not developing, right? Like
quicker towards your death is not useful.
I think that the thing that you can do as a developer is try and maximize the performance of your app in debug mode, and then it's going to work great in release mode, right? Is that simple, right?
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, just because again, as I said this before, just because it doesn't, but people like debugging, making apps fluttering. All right, so slow. It's like, or you're in debug mode. So it's doing a lot more that it's not going to do when the other end user uses the app. So, you know, you have to think about that. The other one is you're probably doing too much on the main. A lot of people don't even use isolates, right? So, like, why is it so slow when I try and decode 5 megabytes of JSON on my main thread and skip 5 frames and skip 10 frames? Like, well, maybe that's why you're doing it.
Okay, on to the next one. That's fun. Beating up. This one, we first have to say none of us work for Google here. So we don't have any more insight into what's happening in the future than we get a little bit of advanced information, but it's very little, and it's mostly Google's does what they do when they do. So with decoupling, what widgets will be in the core? Well, eventually there'll be fewer widgets in the core. That's all I can say.
I will
templates,
I will hazard a guess right now. If you go to api.flutter.dev, there is a library on the left called Material. There's a library on the left called Cupertino. And everything in those two libraries will be externalized into their things. I mean, it's not going to be that directed, but they already did some of this separation. So we actually have you have 3 core. Normally, like you import like one of these, you'll get like say you size box or something. Do you want to include Cupertino.dart, Material.dart, or widgets.dart, right? And there's your 3 separations, right? The widgets and Cupertino get moved out, and you got widgets left, right? I think this is perfectly reasonable. And I wouldn't worry about what's being moved out, because as they do this, it's going to be named. There's going to be time that everyone has got. And when it comes to actually using them, it'll be adding the 2 dependencies. I suspect what they'll do is they'll include those in the SDK, those 2 dependencies, as dependents of the SDK for a period of time to let people migrate over, and then say at this time we're going to deprecate and remove those dependencies, and now you're on your own. You have to include them in your PubSpec YAML or whatever.
Right.
Although give us like when you run the
explicit entries.
and that when that comes before that point comes across, you'll get a warning when you run your app. Oh, you're using Cupertino without importing the package. You should need to import the package. Click here to fix it. Auto fix, right? Stuff like that. So
yeah, cool.
Don't fret.
All right, on to the next one. And then we're almost. We don't have any live coding questions yet, but at least we're this far along, and we'll see if we can get something here. Have you heard about Flutter Smooth? We did a show that we mentioned Flutter Smooth about 3 months ago, right? It was like some way of smoother scrolling than.
I have not heard of this.
Incorporated already.
So I published. I've published the answer to this problem multiple times online. I mean, I did this for I did it for a page curl effect, and then someone went ahead and made a package out of it. I'm like, okay, but like just because it's on what's the problem with it not being on Pub? So okay, no. So I know what this is. This is achieving 60 FPS no matter how heavy. It doesn't need to be on Flutter. It's not a pub. It's not a package. Flutter Smooth is it not? Hang on, let me have a look. I think I remember rightly. There wasn't this. Now
it's just like a proposal, right?
No. I think this was there was a repo which is called this that was for pub. But this hasn't got that. So look, this has actually got a bunch of stuff. I think we should take a look through this. This looks interesting.
Okay.
We'll do that in a bit.
Right.
But yeah, if it's on pub.dev, we're not available on pub.dev. Have you heard? Oh, have you? Okay, so first of all, have you heard about it? Not really. Now we're going to look at it. No. And not available on pub.dev. Well, I don't know if that's part of your question, but yeah. Okay. We'll take a look.
All right. We only have one more question, and we can do that one quickly, which is, I think we already answered this. How do we become experts like Simon? Practice, practice, practice.
There you go.
And that's been a few dozen years learning how to do coding, and you too can be just like Simon. It's true. Okay, that was the last actual question. So if we want to look at the code base, the Flutter Smooth. Yeah,
I'm curious about this. I've not heard of it, so I don't even know what are they trying to accomplish. I'm trying.
Well, that's what. Let's have a look. Let's have a look through. Let me share my screen,
okay,
and then
we'll see it.
We can see what's going on, and all rant and rave at the same time. Right. Share.
Great. Excellent. We're all here for the ranting and raving, Simon. So.
Yes. Let me turn that back off there.
Do you want to drop the quote? Hang on.
Okay.
And we'll drop the background. That's better. So Flutter Smooth achieves 60 FPS no matter how heavy the tree is to build layout. Interesting. I'm not sure that's
what do you sacrifice to be able to do
well
that?
exactly. Let's have a look. Let's see what it's talking about. And I love this. Like there's a video here, and the one on the left without smooth, the one on the right with smooth. It says right, which is obvious. And then it says deliberately made super janky for clear demonstration. Oh, you missed that bit. There you go. I'm like, well, then that's not there's not a comparison, is it? Like what? No matter however true it will run.
I didn't know you could enable jank mode.
Detailed report.
Always off.
Randall, it is a flag inside of Material app. You just put jank mode. It's a named parameter, true, false.
Right. Yes.
I mean, I'm making fun of it, but you know, there's actually got like here's how you can timeline trace and record it. I mean, linearity, jank statistics, overhead pitfalls. Infracore, the core layout exposed few low-level flexible primitives such as Smooth Builder. And they also drop in code. Let's have a look, like because I noticed this. Like he's got a couple of like replacement widgets. Add 6 characters, drop in replacements. List view becomes smooth list view. Page route, material page route becomes smooth material page route. Okay, and then actually look, this is what I was going to say. Look, Ian Hicks and Danfield, Jonah. These are I love the way that people say it, but more specifically, thanks to these contributors. These are all like Flutter team members. You're like, why? This is going to make its way. Like they're doing it here, and then these things go back into the main repo. I think like there's something to be said here around like the fact that this is 3 years ago. This has made its way back into the framework. I tell you right now, this hasn't just sat here for 3 years and not been used. I think I remember this being made. It was made to work out what the problems were with the rendering on Flutter, and then they went and fixed them in the framework. I remember this. This is the one I was talking about.
Yeah.
Explained. I'm working on PR. I mean, let's go look at Smooth. So this is what they've got. Example. So, example list view, and this is just going to be page utils, build row in a list view. Example list view subpage. Let's go into that. Here we go. Enable smooth, and then that probably just sort of like smooth builder, simple counter, smooth breakpoint, smooth preempt point widget. Smooth list view, right? So this is just like that using these widgets, right? And let's go look at the widgets themselves.
Instead of operator, you would use smooth operator. Dating myself now.
Randall.
List view. Have a look.
That song is timeless, Randall.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. So this is just standard right now. So if you use smooth, maybe builder, then it uses smooth. Yeah. Timeline time 6. This is just them recording the add engine pending event listener. Service locator. Remove it. So we've got a pending event, pointer up, activate break mode. Oh yeah, so should only do this if it's activated without list view. So interesting. Smooth builder. I'm not seeing. So direct smooth shift. Enhanced padding. Enable now negative padding. Negative cache extent. Interesting. List view builder inside. Super magical this is.
Smooth ramping scroll physics. I wonder what that does.
Well, we can look at that. So interesting enough, right? First of all, here this enhanced padding with the minus the cache extent, instead of having the list view do the caching, they're using basically they're overflowing the list view, making the list view larger than the screen by doing the negative, and cropping it in so that it still builds the widgets. It's just a different way of achieving the same result, right? So that's what enhanced padding is in. Smooth shift. That's interesting. It's wrapping the list view, smooth builder. All right, so there's a couple of things: smooth clamping scroll physics, smooth shift, and smooth builder. So these are drop-in replacements. I'm assuming. Oh, there's shift. I saw there as well. Physics. Create ballistic. Potential time shift from previous. Shifting simulation. So that's got to be new. Yeah, let's use simulation. Time shift, position shift. Interesting. So this is just basically allowing it's the smooth clamping scroll physics basically just is using a new scroll physics called shifting simulation instead of the clamping scroll physics or bounce or whatever the default one is. And then this physics is being given these two values, time shift and position. And let's have a look. Memorize simulator proxy, memoized. I'm guessing that just holds it last time, last X. And now I need to get those things. And then what we got? Proxy simulation, shifting simulation. Okay, so basically position shift is just adding a value to X always on the output. And then time shift is being added to the time factor. So this allows you to shift the wrapped simulation. So there's an inner simulation. I'll go back to here. I must have missed that. So this is
Simon,
wrapping.
is that time shift like a delta time in a game engine? Is that what we're looking at there? Okay.
Yeah, it's a double number of seconds. So this is interesting. So effective previous. So they're doing the super to get back the result, checking if it's a clamp and scroll simulation. If it's not, then it returns because it only works for clamp and scroll. So that's the parent of the physics. The physics, scroll physics in Flutter parent, they have they all add up together. So you can do like some crazy things. Anyway, so they're just wrapping it and then applying the potential time shift from previous, right? So there's some wrapping going on here. And working out what the previous one was to what this one is, and then working out the difference. So okay, and then shift is probably applying that. Smooth shift for pointer events and ballistic.
Of course, you said wrapping, and I immediately thought, I didn't know Humpday did wrap.
So I think with all of this stuff they did here, this is all just a test situation, right? So they're just doing this to achieve the goal that they wanted to. You don't actually need to do any of this, right? If I remember rightly, I'd have to go look. I don't think you need to use any of this stuff to get your smooth scrolling. There is a global Boolean to enable this. Damn, what's it called? It's like input. Hang on.
Randall, just for you, I want to make a criminal widget so we can have a smooth criminal.
Oh, that
was the other one I was thinking of.
Do you remember what I'm talking? There was a input, like there was like a global flag which would let you turn in input syncing or something like that. Do you know what I'm even talking about? I don't know if it started with debug or not. Oh, that's gonna bug me now. I remember it being a global flag that you could enable, and what would happen. I don't know if it's like enabled by default now or not, but when they were working on this whole 60 FPS thing, you could enable it, and what it would do is it would sync up the input events and the processing of the scroll together, and that's basically what they're doing here. So I there's no magic here apart from that, as far as I can tell. The listening to the event, the engine event, is interesting. This extra event dispatcher, because really this basically, like, this tells me that they're just like listen to any pointer up event, and then they activate a break in this break controller, which I've honestly never even heard of that before. So let's have a look. Is it? Nah, see, not there. Where is that coming from? Let's take a quick look. So service, this is their service locator, right? Yeah, so this is their infra. So they've kind of, this is just them applying a break to the scroll. I think you'll find this is just them controlling the scroll a little bit better. I'm not seeing like a massive, I'm not like, ooh, you know, like, let's go look at infra here and see. Now I'm like, ooh, what's this, right? But adjusted time zone. Wow, they're going down the rabbit hole here for sure. I'll be honest with you, this all seems way too much hassle.
I think we've more than answered the original questioners.
I know, I'm just like curious now.
How smooth can you get it? I always thought smooth operator was like something that was an ABL. Isn't one of those fancy Greek-looking letters smooth? I thought.
Maybe.
Yes, APL seemed to have one of everything. We have one more question before we go to live coding. If you want to do another question.
Go for it.
Okay, here. I don't know that we can really answer this other than saying, well, wait, Flutter extensions versus factory constructors, which has better performance for large data? I bet at the level of the distinction between what an extension does and what a factory constructor does, it probably doesn't matter. I mean, what really matters is how much work you're generating beneath those constructors.
Actually, I'm just going to say Flutter extensions versus so has which about they would be the same, right? Like
yeah,
they're just functions you're calling. An extension is just a static function that exists under a different namespace when you're calling it, so it looks like it's part of a class. And then a factory constructor is just a static function that acts as a constructor. Ta-da!
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, they're all just functions. Like constructing something, there should be zero performance impact because, yeah, they're just all just functions you're calling that return an object. Right.
All right, and we have one code request. Let's do some pagination. Woohoo!
Sure. What would you like to
say that I have an unhealthy appreciation for extensions, and I use them more often than what I probably should. But I just love you can get some really clean syntax that way, and I prefer it.
And do you mean the extension where
you're going to tell me you put extensions on integers and strings, aren't you?
What'd you say, Simon?
You're going to tell me you put extensions on integers and strings and stuff like that.
Oh no. It's always like a custom class. It's always like a custom class that I've written. But
I mean, like the extensions are great, but I don't think there's room for a lot of extensions on types that you don't have control over. If you have control of them, just add it to the type, right? I mean, I tell you what it does happen. I tell you what I have had extensions be perfect for, and that is I had different modules, right, in the app with different dependencies, right? And I wanted to add to say a good example is like get color, or like, okay, here's a good example. You've got a data only like module that can be compiled with some Dart code, right? that cannot depend on Flutter, right? But I want to get color for status or something on this, like on a status enum or something, right? So the way you can solve that is you put your extension in your app on the status enum, thereby adding the color stuff that's needed for the Flutter side of it to a class that's running inside a different module that can be used just in Dart code. That's a great use of extensions, right?
No, I gotcha.
Or you've got third party. Or you've got another like a third party package from another developer, and you don't have control of the source code. So obviously, an extension works, right?
Yeah. Well, we had an issue where we had to frequently create lists that have specific custom data types. And what we discovered is that for our specific instance, using an extension method on top of list actually made the syntax super easy for the specific use case we were trying to do.
That's an example of code that's out of your control that you're extending, which is that's literally the main use of extension. Is when people go stick. It's like writing. I've seen people write. Was it Swift code? Like everything's an extension on some blank class or something. It's like, what are you doing? There's because you've got you can't inherit from that. There's no control over it. It just I was
on a project. I was on a project pretty early on in my Flutter career that had probably 6 or 7 different people contributing to the code base, and they owned sections of the code. And so if they wanted almost anything of any value, you had to write an extension to glue 2 things together from 2 different vertical slices. And it was really sort of ugly because you could never just stare at a class definition and figure out what the heck this code's going to eventually do, because it's probably pulling in extensions everywhere. So it was interesting. I think it was an overuse of extensions. I figured the whole code base should be able to be updated by anybody as long as you use proper software engineering discipline. So whatever. That was me. Enough of that. We got no more questions.
So what we going? Someone said they want a live code pagination. I'm like, well, what are we paginating? Give me something here. Pagination means a lot.
Paging Simon.
So are we talking about paginated infinite scroll, or are we talking about like actual pagination where you jump between pages? Or
I mean that is an interesting point, right? So I think that there is like, I could explain a bit more about pagination and implementation of good pagination, I guess. Because like there's too often they're not like people do find some interesting ways of doing that are not too performant. I don't know. We could definitely look at that, I guess. What is thoughts of everyone?
Yeah.
Meh. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like I want to do something like a bit more. What's the word? Exciting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to hop off in 15 minutes for a work meeting, but
I see. When it gets tough, he's off. I see.
Rude.
Well, when you realize the show is a lot about just Simon talking out loud and me making jokes, then it's not really fun to hang around anyway. So
no. This is like the highlight of my week, guys. I don't think you understand. Like, I love Hump Day.
I totally get it. This and Monday mornings now are my 2 favorite times of the week. Exactly. And Friday night, because I run the karaoke show Friday night. That's my 3 times I look forward to every week. All right.
Is Monday morning the AI show?
Yeah.
Yes.
I need to tune into that.
Yeah, you do. You missed out that this week's Monday was it was Ander and Khan were on from the Flutter team as well.
Ooh.
Oh, and speaking of promotions, tomorrow I am on Observable Flutter. It's resuming after a 3-week break, and we're going to do the second half of the vibe coding of the application that Craig did in 3 separate shows by hand. I vibe coded about 90% of it in one show, and we're going to let him drive for this upcoming show tomorrow. So that'll be fun. I get to teach him how to write prompts. Cool. It's on the Flutter official channel live.
So,
Okay.
what should we do? Let's
Was there
jump
anything
over.
left in last week that we left out at the end?
I mean, we,
that next week?
as I said, like we could like add more to last week. Should I show off last week's one? Should I run it?
I haven't seen it.
Let's see. Let me get this up on screen. 1 second, everyone. Buttons. There we go. It's just compiling a Windows app. So this was last week's code. I'll do a quick walkthrough and I'll show people. So this is what the app that we were building. And this is obviously just a test product, but the idea being that when we have a 50, if I turn on debug boundaries, you actually see it saying that. So we have, I also showed you how to do this, how to add your own custom debug graphics. But anyway, so this 15
is this the one you have open?
No, all the ones that I published have the builder pattern. Let me go check on my gists and see. The latest gist should be it. 6 of the first, 9.1. No, that's the wrong one. So now you put the hash in for today for this one. So everyone's got it. It's in the chat. The link to the code is in the chat. This is part 3. So I'll walk you through how the builder works, but let me just show you working. So the idea here being that if anything goes outside the bounds, it gets not just removed from the paint, but doesn't exist in the element tree, doesn't exist, that hasn't been built at all, right? So as I move this over, that blue box disappears, but that is gone. That's not in the element hierarchy. That's not in the render hierarchy anymore. It's completely gone, right? This means that you can have an infinite plane, effectively, of widgets, and only the widgets that are visible in our visibility bounds are actually there. And what you do is that bounds that we've got at the moment set to 50 for debugging. Effectively, what you would do in the widget, we didn't do this, you would have a cache extent. That's how list view works, which basically just extends that boundary outside of the viewport. So it starts loading the widgets before they come into the screen, right? Anyway, so as you can see here, they can drop off and come in as required. And that's not painting, that's actually building them. So if we go to this, to the code, so we have our controller, and basically the idea is that we have our widget it's a stack canvas running with stack items with a rect on them. And if any of these rectangles are within the bounds of what's visible on the screen, then it runs the builder and adds that widget to the screen, right? That's the premise. We take advantage of the fact that where is it? Our stack items take advantage of the fact that we use the original stack, some of the original stack code. So we get to use position.fromRect to store our position. We could just do our own custom one. It would do the same thing. It just stores the rectangle past here in the parent widget data for the element, right? Who cares? And then there's our builder that we call the builder pattern, right? So if I go down here, here's the canvas controller. So it's just does the origin. Our stack canvas widget effectively just deals with the gesture detection to update the panning of the controller. When the origin changes, that's when it re-renders. So we pass the controller over to our layout and the children over to our layout. And the layout is where the magic happens. So are we ready for this? So it's a render object widget. We do all the rendering ourselves. We have our own element as well in the element tree. I forced this on. You could probably get rid of this, to be honest. The update should rebuild and just remove that, but I'll leave it there for now. When we get asked to create a render object, we create it, and we get to update. We update the controller if it's changed. Wonderful. This is just the standard stuff we do. Now the element, so it gets fun. So this is actually a good example of an element, in fact. So really uncomplicated, right? I know, well, it's got some stuff in there specific to this, don't get me wrong, but the premise is fine. So here we override the render object and widget to use our custom types that we specifically use for our element, right? That's the step one. Then on this case, what we do is we have a new build scope just for our widget. So we override that. And what happens is when we go to build, this code is straight out of Layout Builder, but basically we don't want to schedule in the wrong time during the build, during the right phases, when it's scheduled during the right time. So when we're idle or post frame callbacks, we want to schedule and not during transient callbacks and persistent callbacks and stuff. So this is kind of just kind of handles that for us. When we get our custom frame callback function being run, it does on the render object schedule layout callback. So this handles scheduling a build if we need to. Finally, our element has its children, and we have like again, this is out of the multi-children stuff. This is basically copy paste, but the notion is as you remove and add items, you might want to traverse them. So you put them in the forgotten children list, and then that becomes your essentially your set is you can. That means you can forget children or remove them from the hierarchy as you're proceeding over them. Right, stops that race condition happening. Anyway, visit children is what you do to visit the children of your element tree. You have to implement that because you're the one that's in control of that. What elements are attached to you. When our widget gets mounted, we hook up the element callback on the render object to our function. The idea being this is when the render object gets rendered, we need to get the bounds of what it's rendering, pass that to our callback, and then that can tell us what widgets we need to build, right? So when when our element gets mounted to the element tree, it hooks it up to it gets hooked up to the render object. And then when we get updated, we make sure we update it. And then if we need to update our widget, then we say we need to rebuild and we schedule that rebuild. All right. And this time the render object schedule the layout callback so that during perform layout of the render object, then calls our element back to perform the actual layout. And then basically the same thing happens here for mark needs build, perform rebuild, any of that stuff. It always happens during layout. So this is us scheduling it to happen during layout. And then when we get unmounted, we want to set our element callback to null to get rid of it. Here's the actual element callback. This is the magic. It's not that crazy thing. If we need to have a build, one of those callbacks happened, then we enter our function or our viewport is different, right? So there's two things. If our viewport has been updated, we always need to build. But if we've been marked that we need to rebuild and our viewport hasn't changed, then we still need to enter, right? This then looks at the build scope and actually schedules this function to run as part of build. So it's happening during the right phase of the process. This is where we work out what children are in our overlap our viewport, nice and simple, right? And this ends up being the new children we need on the screen now that we've changed our viewport that we're monitoring. Update children handles all of the diffing. This is literally how Flutter, the Flutter magic is in this function, right? This is where, we'll just watch, this is the complexity of, I've got these old children, I've got these new children. Should they be replaced? Can they be updated? Do they have the same key? All that kind of funky stuff that you don't want to have to do it. That's what all this does, right? It's a very complex algorithm and you don't have to do any of it. So there you go. And this is just update children. Here's the current children, here are the new children, and here's the list where you put the forgotten children. Done. And at the end of it, once we've done our traversal, we can clear off the forgotten ones. We don't need them anymore. They're gone. Then we finished our build and we update the viewport to be the current one. That's it. That's the entire process, right? That's the magic, right? Then the rest of these functions in our element are just link up the element to the render object. So when we get told to forget an element, we put it on the forgotten list and consider on with that. We get asked to insert a render object as a child, add the child element's render object to our render object. Move is the same thing, move, and then update is remove is remove. So this just literally binds our render object to the callbacks that happen inside the element tree. That's it. That's just like normal behavior. Then finally, we're down to the render object. So here we've got our container stuff, which gives us our parent data. The defaults mixin allows us to paint and do hit testing without us having to do those functions. They're just built into the default. So in here we've got like default hit test, default paint, and things that we can call. And the magic actually happens in this, which is the layout callback mixin. This is used by layout builder and a sliver layout builder as well. And this is just does the callback stuff. So again, it's just a little bit of code that just says, here's the layout callback you need to run and invoke this layout callback during and schedule it during the layout of my widget, right? There's literally that's the entire code right there. It's not like there's not a lot of magic going on here. It's just it just calls this private function that we don't get. That there's a couple of private things that it does that we can't have access to. So yeah, and the invoke function is public. You can call this wherever, but this just invokes the sort of the layout side of it, right? Okay, so back to our actual render object. So again, in here, when we get our controller, we start listening to it, so we know when the origin changes. When it gets set, we get told about our new element callback. We store it, and if it's changed, then we schedule a layout callback. So the next time perform layout happens, it calls back the function. When our render object gets attached to the widget tree, start listening, and it gets removed, we stop listening. And if our origin changes, we schedule a layout callback. Parent data, just and make sure that our children have the right parent data attached to them. Here is the magical layout callback, which is work out our new viewport, right? And then if we have a callback, call it back with that viewport. So that's it, right? That's our layout callback. And then when we do layout, that's where we get this run layout callback. And that's going to call back this function if it needs to. So that's what this invoke layout callback does in the right sense, right? And then after this function's run, our element tree has been updated. Our render object tree for our current render object has been updated. So then when we get the child list, this is going to be now the new list of the new widgets that we've built and everything. So at that point, we then just render them like we were before. We didn't change any of the code. It just plots them on the screen and in the right positions as they are asked to be related to their rectangle and our origin. In fact, they just get rendered at the right positions, and then when it comes to paint, we offset via the origin so they're painted at the right place, and that's it. This bit is just a debug to get us that colored border. So that's just default paint. That's just default hit testing, and effectively, this is just layout at the left top of the widget where they need to be. So the magic really happens all in like ensuring that we only have the right widgets done at the right time. So yeah, there's a lot. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot in here,
but it's really elegant.
Yeah,
like, yeah.
Even Gemini agrees. I had Gemini review this while you were reading off the code.
Oh, what did it say? Go on.
With my usual prompt.
It said it looks like Simon made this from Humpday Q&A.
Pretty darn close. Pretty darn close. Here's the thing. So I have a standard phrase I use for all my first round code reviews, and that is, please review the code for the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I like it.
It's terrible. It's all bad. It's all ugly.
No, the first sentence in good is, this is an impressive and advanced piece of Flutter code. It dives deep into the rendering layer to create a highly performant virtualized canvas. There's a breakdown of the good, the bad, and the ugly, and I won't go through all the steps here. I just want to take a couple of them out. But the good is high performance virtualization, excellent structure, custom render object, effective controller. The bad, it says unconditional rebuild. Oh, you never fixed the rebuild.
Yeah, that's the bit I said, right?
Okay, yeah, and redundant layout scheduling. So perform rebuild in stack canvas element calls schedule layout callback and sets need build equal true. This is redundant because mark needs build should already handle this. This could lead to unnecessary layout passes. That make sense?
No. What is this? It's just about render object or the element. Sorry.
So this is a perform rebuild method in stack canvas element. Calls schedule layout callback and sets need build equals true. This is redundant because mark needs build, which triggers perform rebuild. Should already handle this.
Oh, I see what you mean. Like it might be being called twice. It depends on how it's being called, though, right? So I think the case about this is you can call either function and you expect the same result, right? Where one function calls the other, yes, it does, but that's not going to cause two layout passes. It just schedules it.
Okay.
Guys, I have to hop off for my work meeting. But thanks for having me on as always. In closing, Simon, congratulations. You have just rewritten Milanote. So put a Firebase backend on this and you can charge everyone $10 a month. So
it's never that simple, but yeah.
No, never. But thanks for having me on, guys, and I will see you all next week.
All right. See you.
Cool.
Bye, all.
And I'm not going to give you the ugly because, well, you could probably be interested in it. Scheduler phase dependency. The schedule rebuild method in the stack canvas element contains logic that checks scheduler binding instance scheduler phase. This is a very low level detail of Flutter's internal mechanism. Relying on this can make the code brittle. You probably knew that when you were adding it. Hard coded debug constant. Oh, who cares about hard coded stuff? All right.
Yeah.
Debug test clipping is a global concept. Yeah, we know that because you're setting it when you're changing things.
Yeah. We do that on purpose, right? So
inherent complexity. This isn't a criticism of the code, but it means it's fragile. Sure. But in summary, I like summary. This is an expert level Flutter. So they might as well have written Simon right there. This is expert level Flutter code that solves a difficult performance problem in an elegant way. You got an elegant out of Gemini.
I got elegant. Plus
and the
one.
bad and ugly aspects are largely consequences of working with such a low level in the framework. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, so you got a really pretty high score there from Gemini. So
I was quite chuffed about getting all this to. We literally it was what was it? It was literally like the first pass, wasn't it? We got it like it was like a couple of like little typos, and then it just worked. And I was like, oh my god, how did this just all work after very complex changes and everything? So I'm quite chuffed that it actually came across.
No, this is good code. This is good code. Yeah, excellent.
Right,
excellent.
I mean, it's not finished, right? It's a starting thing. It's an example, but there's a lot more that could be done with that. We could certainly do a lot more. Right. Anyway, what are we doing today? What are we actually talking about? Like, should we do something? We've got
something about paging. The only thing we request was paging. So pagination.
Paging is what we're going to do. Should we do some advanced paging?
Advanced paging, yes. Flipping quickly pages.
Well, I don't know. Let's just. I mean, there's some interesting things around paging that we could do, right?
And I agree with this comment too. Though using AI review for GIS is interesting, and we could it'd be great to use it more frequently.
Do you know what we should do? You know what we should do? We should work. We should just find 5 minutes, go through every gist, put it through there, and then put a little file in the gist, which is like code review, just like people can really have an explanation of what the code does, rather than having to understand the code. Maybe they might actually like give me a simple write up on what this code does, and then that might actually be a nice little thing to dump in the top of the gists, right?
Yeah. Well, it's simple enough to do. Gemini CLI went right into my VS Code and pulled down the gist, and away I go with my one magical prompt that I learned so far. Give me the good, the bad, and the ugly.
What we do, we want to do pagination, right? So, well, give me something we can like do. What can we paginate through? Come on. Suggestions. I'm open to suggestions.
Like an address book or something. Maybe calendar. Show how to make a calendar with top level details. That's not really pagination, but
I was thinking about when I think about pagination, I think about like a large data set from like a server that you need to like fetch in chunks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Rather than like page view style access.
Mm-hmm.
Not anyway, all right. So let's do. I guess let's just set out some things here, right? So first of all, let's do
cursor-based pagination.
Sorry?
Cursor-based pagination, says Verde.
Cursor-based pagination. Sure. I don't think that makes that much difference. Sure.
Well, a couple of the problems I've run across with pagination is if I'm watching like a chat room, and so the chats are getting, the chat room's getting longer and longer, there has to be some way of saying, give me all the chats after a timestamp, or use a token-based method to be able to say, give me all new items after token XYZ. So you want to show those two strategies for interacting with a back end, and then simulate the back end somehow.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like I'll do a little simulated back end, and then have the front end widgets call that, and so it goes.
Didn't you already sort
cursor-based pagination for pretty much everything? Yeah, so but the fact of the matter is, like whatever you're doing, like a cursor is just a unique ID to tell you where you are in a data set. So what you need to do cursor pagination is, here's my current item. It's just the ID of the item. That's your cursor. And then the data I'm browsing is this, and it's in this order. And then it knows where you are and gives you the next set of results, right? The fact that it's cursor-based or index-based, it wouldn't make any difference, right? The index is just, you're using, the idea of the index stuff is that if items keep getting inserted in above, then as we've seen, it pushes down and you might get repeated items coming back from the API, right? Because you're accessing maybe an index now that was previously utilized. Anyway, the point here is if you use the token-based one, right? So cursor-based indexes, you're caring about the item in that set, not about its position in the set. So yeah, it's not a big deal. Right. Let's do that, sure. And then material. Okay, and then I guess we'll do sure, list view builder. Thanks, AI. And then what item? What do we want now? I feel like I don't like do this as like cards or something dense. I don't know if there's actually selected color. Selected shape. Is there not a background? Tile color. Okay, that worked.
I see a lot of red. Intentional red, though. Not the bad red. Red screen of death.
There we go. I've got some data on the screen. Sure, why not? Right. So data-wise, so this is going to be our end result that we want to paginate through. I think what I'll do is I'll change the tile background color based on what page it's from, so we can have a better visual. Maybe if there's a border color, that's all. No. Focus color.
They can make different sounds. No, I'm just kidding. That would be annoying. Beep,
Yeah.
beep, 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 beep.
Okay, so let's do a different border color. I mean, it's a little bit less in your face, as it were. 21. Wow. No.
Oh, that was big.
Okay, cool. So let's have a backend that we can query data from, right? So we'll have a class thanks. And thanks. I just love it when it does what I want. Right. Okay. Well, it's kind of it's got something there. Let's not give it too much credit. So we want as you said, a cursor and limit. And what we'll do is when this starts up, we'll generate a set of items in memory. Mock data, right? And then let's generate this a little bit better than this. Let's say mock data equals. We could list dot generate as map. Interesting. Okay, so it's I think they can do. Okay, cool. Not that I want to do that. Right. Map entry. And then we can say map from entries. Okay, and we'll work the colors will just be something, an artifact of what we want to return. So this can be item, whatever the index is, and that's our visual. And then essentially the API on the server is going to do what we're going to do here. We'll put a delay in there and we'll just say, don't want to int pass now. Start is mock data. Actually, we want to display tree map, don't we? Actually saying that. Essentially, we want to do index of key, right?
Yeah.
Which we can't do on. I mean, we can do keys. Do something stupid like this. Obviously not great, but equally kind of works.
Yeah, linear restrictions are okay for something that's a demo.
Actually, no, I want. I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to make something post.
Actually, if you made it a map, you could serialize that. Sorry, what do you call it? Iterate over that in the order that was added, but still be able to get quickly to a given item for a given ID.
Yeah, I think that I think if I was going to look at, I think it's display tree map has the ability to do
That can keep them sorted by ID. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think if you remember, you still don't have index of. What is the? Is it Q? No, because that's just going to be one dimensional. No, I swear there was a simple way of. That's really.
Are you trying to create a map from a list?
Well, no, it doesn't really make a difference. I'm just curious. No, this was just more about the fact that I'm using the stringers that index into it rather than iterating. I mean, this would be in a database on a server, so who gives a care, right? Like it's
right.
I'm just like, no, it's just annoying me. That's just like, where is my data? Anyway, yeah, and then this is interesting. So, yeah, what was I doing? I was not what I was doing. I did post. Got distracted. Right, I want to create a post like this. Go away.
Oh, is this what you were looking for? Values to list index of?
I mean, that's what I'm doing, right? Well,
No.
I care about the key, right? I'm not on the index of the key, not the value. So this works
Right.
perfectly fine. The problem I've got is that every single time we want to search it, we're creating a new list of the keys and then cycling through them, right? Like this isn't like the same as a hash map. What I'd actually be better off doing in this scenario is having a list of just the strings, and then having the. But like there's I'm missing the I know there's a way doing it. Anyway, it doesn't matter right now. It doesn't literally matter at all. Right. Anyway, mock data. Where am I? Mock data. So we got string to post. We got a list of posts coming back, and there we go. So okay. So now we've kind of got like a faked up API thing, which returns back a post based on a cursor. And I guess what we want to do is have cursor nullable for the first entries. And then we'll just have if cursor is null, then we get 0. Otherwise, we get out, right? Something like that. Just to really. It just wants to know me. That's what it wants to do. Like, there's just no way of nicely doing that, apparently, for it to format it. Anyway, fine. You know what we could do? You could just do like well, suppose it'd be index of ID actually, just a curse. Right. Where were we? Yeah, that would be a refactor ticket, totally. Yeah. Right. Okay, so we create our backend. It's going to have an instance of API, and then we want to load items. So there's a couple of ways we can kind of do this in terms of the way the app wants to manage this. And when we return back, data to the front end, we actually have a resulting list of posts, right? Now we could just like keep adding to that main list, right? That's one way of doing it. You can do like almost like a view model type thing where you're keeping a track of all of the results that are coming in and what page they were for. So you inject them in the right order. There's a bunch of options. I'm trying to think of like the cursor driven stuff. Actually, if there's particularly a better way of doing this. I think the problem you've got is what the way that we're displaying them is index based. I don't know, let's have a look. Let's just get these displaying, right? So we scroll, we fetch some more, and then display it. I'm going to get rid of this. I don't really want to cache it here anyway right now. I'm just going to have like API be a thing. And then we'll have our app widget. We'll have API. Oh, thank you very much. It just knows my mind. See, look at that, wonderful. I'm honestly really loving it. I'm really loving augment code. It just somehow reads my mind and does exactly what I want.
Yeah, augment's good. Augment's pretty good. Yeah.
It's their advanced indexing of your code base. I think that makes a difference anyway. And I understand they've written handlers for different languages as well. So you're actually getting the best result from that point of view. All right, let's do paginated list view or something. Let's put paginated list view, sure. And we'll have our we need a mechanism to now paginated view. We need some mechanism to request another page. So we'll need a a function that returns a list of something. We'll put T right now. So we need pass in a function. Yeah, I guess. And I guess also we want this to be a future because it's mo. Cool. And then we also need a builder. Builder in here. Sorry. You might change that in a second, but anyway, let's now let's grab our. So yeah, we'll do this, and then we'll make the stateful as well, and this can maintain the state of the items. Yeah. Okay. So then we'll have like list of T items. And we'll essentially have our list view builder in here. And item count, boom. That looks good so far. And let's go all this paginate list view from in here. Let's call it item builder. So this could be a post instead of an index. And then our content is going to be a post of content. I almost want to, I'm going to add just for like debugging right now. I think we'll add in a int page or something. I don't know how it's going to work actually. My original concept was to have the results of each page be come back down and then use a view model. Let's not worry about that for now. And yeah, let's not worry about that for now. And then we'll concentrate on, I'll show you, we'll do one way. And if we've got time, I'll show you the other. So we'll leave that comment down for now.
Yeah.
Right. What else do we have? Okay, so we've got a paginate in this view. We need our fetch items. So there's our fetch items coming in. So we have a paginated list view. Here's how you're going to fetch your items. Here's the item builder for a post, blah, 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 blah. And that's how you build a post in the UI. Cool. Okay, so now down here, how are we going to, the idea about the notion of having this paginated list view is to effectively hide the, what would be the mechanism for this? Hide the complexities of managing the future and everything related to making the requests. So there's a couple of ways like we can do this. Like one way is with a scroll controller, and we can see, are we at the bottom extent? Then we try and make another request for more widget, for more content. However, with that, it doesn't take into account the cache extent of the list view. So you can, we can obviously pass in a, where the hell is the cache extent? Different cache extent parameter to improve the cacheability. And the way that works is that we need the item builder to request a widget that's one more, essentially that's greater than what we've got. So we say +1, right? Now we can't obviously index into that array. So we say if it's the, if it's equal to the length of our array, then we want to show something to indicate that we want to load more. In this case, we're going to stick a circle loader. Now, we obviously could pass in a builder that gives you the ability to do that. Then this needs to kick off an operation if it doesn't exist to load the next page, right? So next page, future equals, and then Well, you can do that. Let's see what interesting concept. Yeah. Not wrong. So thanks, AI.
AI for the win. Sorry to
Cool.
all you developers. Don't need you anymore.
And we also have page limit coming in. So I just don't like the way this is being wrapped up at the moment in terms of the UI. This doesn't need to be in here like this. What we'll do instead is have a function in here. Let's do void fetch next page. Yeah, thank you for bringing it up. Yes, that's correct.
Why is ID in red there?
It's because T doesn't extend anything right now. So what we'd actually effectively need to do for our use case, because we need to keep track of the ID, is to have something like the best way to do this is to have a interface class paginated content or something, right? And that has just a string get ID.
Yeah.
It's always annoying me. It's like if you're going to do an interface, it's always going to be abstract. So why do I have to put abstract? It really does bug me, that one. I'm like, you literally can't use an interface class if it's not abstract. So why am I putting the word abstract in there?
Yeah.
Anyway. Cool. And now with that interface down here, we can now say, along with it extends paginate content, away we go.
Yeah, no, the ID's not red. Maybe we can tell.
With that in mind, so that's just passed across the type. Lovely jubbly, and now ID is going to work. So when we get the next page, we're going to fetch the first 10. Now, if I do this right, I just want to make this a little bit. I mean, what works at the moment? Don't get me wrong, it works at the moment. I just want to slightly rewrite this to say. And we got yeah, and then say if and of course this fetches a list of T. So what's the problem with this? Oh, I don't know. Wait, that would be the problem. Cool. So let's just verify what we've got here. When the widget first set starts up, we do fetch next page. So we have some items starting to be downloaded. When the result comes back, if we're mounted, then we add those items to our list and increase them. Now, this is not necessarily correct right now. We'll come back to that in a minute.
Verde has a comment here. Maybe abstract out that trailing widget so it can show loading or errored state.
Oh yeah. That's what I was saying earlier. That's what I said earlier. I just haven't. There's just not there yet. Let's make it work first. But I would abstract out obviously the page limit, the callback for the trailing widget for the loading state, stuff like that. Cool. So now we've got this. Let's restart. There we go. It loaded the first set. And if I scroll down, more. It's going to keep loading more. Yay. Right. So that works. Not bad for a first attempt. It works, right?
In the midnight hour, it loads more.
So let's in here. Let's have a final widget function build context. Empty builder. Sure. We could also do a error builder. Yeah. loading builder.
Wow.
And then have some static functions in here that basically are the defaults, right? There you go. Thank you very much.
Yay. I just rewatched all of IT Crowd. Susie said Builder. I thought of that episode of Builder from Hell. Builder from Hell, right? Really? Really or not?
I just love that. That's a great series.
Inspired watching. Yes.
We could do wait. Error it's just error widget.
Like yours.
Dynamic. Cool. Nothing to see here.
Yeah.
And then we're going to send to that. Right. Cool. So I think so. We've got a couple of things we haven't dealt with here. Is what happens when we don't get any data back. You know, when we decide to stop loading more. So we obviously got shown the empty state as well. So okay, so we've got these. Let's have also this dot page size and bring that in. So okay, so let's put these in here. So widget dot page size. They're done. And what else do we have? We've got the empty. This says to need to handle errors nicely and have an error state. Let's do try catch.
Print. I love it. Just catch it and print it. You don't need anything else.
We can do something like this, I guess. I did final. What else do we want? If there's an error, we probably want to stop trying to request more. So let's not set it to null on purpose. That way you can't request more with the way our system currently works. And then loading builder is obviously what we're going to show for the end thing. So all right, let's come down here. So when we return this state, we're going to say return widget dot loading builder. That's done. And then I think what we'll say is if error, in fact, we can return it if error else, do that. And we could set that back to null now because error has been set. That overrides the loading more content. Okay. Oh, and then error, I guess, sorry, empty state, I guess, would be this +1 is great when we know we need to load more. So let's do a bool can load more is true by default. And then if items comes back, if items dot length is well, I guess it's the last page. If it's less than page size, then there's no need to load more. Cursor, and that's all fine. So
You're not thinking of a stream interface. You're thinking that when we hit the actual list, there's not going to be any more there if you ever look again.
Yeah. Well, I think like you're coming down content, right, at the moment. I mean, there's a ton of ways of doing this, right? Like I'm thinking that you're paginated through a set, right? And then in can load more. So if we can load more, then we're going to have 1 or 0 in addition. And then if
Well, you're not going to make an extension on a Boolean to return a 1 or a 0?
Where's my gun? I'm going to aim from here. All right. And then right. And then you can shoot yourself in the foot instead. There you go.
Can load more dot unary value. That's int.
Can you actually do 2 in on a ball? Actually, I'm thinking that.
No, that would be too funny.
Well, that's normally the case, right? 1 and 0, right? Like it makes
right.
Sense.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? And then if we cannot load more and we're empty and have no items, then instead of doing this, we want to show the empty builder. So we'll do something like if items is empty, show the empty builder, right? Because there's going to I guess here's the problem, right? So if we're empty, then length is never going to be. Maybe we should always be showing 1. That's a good point. If we're empty, we still want to add 1 because we still need to have 1 item displayed. Or I know too what we do. No, we'll do it like this. If items, do the if items is empty, do it up here. Why don't else show the list view? This has a side effect though, because we only want to show the empty once it's finished loading. So can load more is equal to false and items is empty, right? So if we can no longer load more and we have no more items, then we're definitely empty. We show the empty build. Otherwise, we'll have a flicker of the empty build state whilst we're loading the first page, which we don't want. Cool. All right, I think that's enough Boolean algebra for now. Let's go up here.
It'd be interesting if you could take and turn that into a mermaid diagram so you can see what that actually looks like. See the control flow.
That would be correct. Okay, there we go. So I changed the delay to 3 seconds just so we could see what happens. So there's the first page. Right. So that's interesting. So do you see what we've got here? 9.9. Yeah, that's because of the cursoring that we did. So we've actually got a bug that we want. If cursor is not 0, then we want 1 plus the cursor to come back, right? So actually 1 plus that for the index of. Right? Okay, 0 to 9. 0 to 9. Okay, that's interesting.
What did it do?
Indeed. So we've got 0 to 9 for the first page, and then another 0 to 9 for the second page. And then we've got 10 to 19, 20, and so on. So why is the first page twice? If you want to know the edited font, I can give you that. It's a new one. Where was it? I posted on Twitter, didn't I? It's really cool, actually. It's good. It's a Google-based font. Hang on.
Oh yeah.
I tweeted it.
Talked about it last week, I think.
Yeah. Where was my tweet? Go find my tweet. Yeah, here it is. Here. I'll pop it in chat. So that's the tweet actually, and the code is called Google Sans Code Nerd font. There it is there. So this is Google Sans, which is a new font, Google Sans Code, which is a new font. But what they've done is I didn't know this actually existed as a project called Ligatrizer. Get your mouth around that one. And literally the whole idea of this project is to add ligatures to programming fonts. So you can have any program font you like, run this tool, and it modifies the font to add programming ligatures to it. And this is how
Wow.
Firo code works. You get the not equals and the nice things that you want in programming. And I was like, wait, there's a code for this, and it works exactly like Firo code, which is my previous font. I'm like, this is exactly what I need. I didn't think of going to look for something that does this. And this guy basically used that. Lucian used that, and then also added 3,600 plus programming icons to the font as well, because why not? So you get all of font awesome, material design icons, optic icons, power line, yeah, all these different things also included, because why the hell not? So you get all like devices. If you want like an icon then for like a button in your IDE or whatever, you've got it. So I thought that was kind of handy as well. So yeah, it works on Linux, Mac, and Windows. Yeah, he's got a star from me, right? No, he's got a star now from me. Yeah. Right, cool. So okay, back to here. Crap, what was I going to say? I was doing something before I got that message. Yes, okay, so why have we got the same page twice? What did I do? All right, so let's go figure out what the bug is. So when we go to load more, we always fetch with the cursor. The cursor is always updated before next is set back to null. Ah, I know what the problem is. So I thought, oh, I only need to set next not equal to null the first time. But of course, what happens is the first time round up here, it's null still. So it tries to fetch the first page twice. That's my fault. Yeah. All right, problem solved. Right. Back to here. We're loading. Boom, 0 to 9. Loading more. 10.
And I like it.
Right.
Ship
so
it.
now we've done that. Let's go back to our data set. And what happens when we say, nope, there's no items. Return blank array. So look. Nothing to see here. That's good. Now let's put a delay on that just so we can see it working properly. I'm loading. Well, nothing to see here. Now, there's an improvement we can make to this. So we're using a list view. There's actually a slightly better way of doing this. We'd say we want to, I'll type it in and then we'll return it. So it's a custom scroll view. And inside that custom scroll view, we're going to put in a sliver. And it's using the builder delegate, child count, exactly what I want. And instead of this item builder, we're going to put our one in there. Achieving the same thing I want. And then our count, same thing, pop that over there. So effectively, we've not achieved anything different from what we just had, right? This is essentially the same thing, right? But what this does do is now we can change our empty state and our loading states slightly. And what I mean by that is in here, we can do sliver remaining, let's go fill remaining. And have our child widget in there. Sorry. There we go. And we can pop that at the bottom of the list. We're not going to request more if we can't do that, so that's fine. So this is so can load more, I guess. Also, if we get an error, we're going to set that to false. I mean, there's obviously better ways of handling error stuff. I'm just going to just do it this way. The first error just stops and you have to do retry, or we could do that. You know, that's another option, right? So, but so if we can load more and we don't have an error, and we're at the last index, then do that. Cool. Else that. That's out. Okay, so this basically means that at the bottom of the list, we're going to get a fill remaining for the error. So we only have one item and the error fills up the rest of it. Whatever we want to do there. And then nothing to see here. We can also do a similar thing, which is if we can't load more and it's empty, then we're going to show our empty builder. Now we're doing it this way. We have a couple of nice enhancements that we've got. So let's show that off here. Yep. There is the loading builder actually can also be done a slightly better way now as well. Instead of doing the +1 thing, we can just say, can we load more here? Right, and slip that into that. So let's return. Thank you very much. So now next feature builder, get next page down here. We don't need that check. The if not equals null. So all we need to do is flip this, actually this condition is backwards. So we want to say if there's an error, then we display that. Else if load more, display that. And can load more. Yep, so that all checks out. So now this goes away. It's become simple. Okay, so that's our final kind of layout. Hopefully people are kind of getting that. And then if we go back and try and run it, so we should now get a spinner in the center. Perfect. Whilst we load the first page, nothing to see here in the center. Perfect as we expect it. Now what we're going to do is make we'll have it return back the data as expected. And then we'll have it make a list of 5 items and see what happens. Ooh, what went wrong? So I'll tell you what went wrong. Well, I think what went wrong. No, I don't know what went wrong. So we're going to figure that one out together. All right, let's put this back to 100 and see if we get the normal behavior. And I didn't mess something up. Let's have a look. Okay, good. First page loads. Next page loads. Of course, that works. Cool. So see the behavior now. We can kind of scroll down and get more. Obviously, you can change that behavior. I'm just like, okay. So if it's less than a page, we're getting an interesting problem. I think that is an error that's happening, and we're not showing the error correctly. So let's go look. What's going on here? No error throw. Well, we catch the error and we don't throw it. So we could decide to print. We should probably print that out, at least for debugging right now.
And rethrow.
Well, the whole point here is that we're catching it in the UI stack, right? But
oh, okay.
Yep. Okay, invalid range. And this is interesting because our error is not being displayed correctly. Now, what's happening here is the error happens when there's less than 1 page. However, because the error occurred, because we've got our items are empty, it still tries to show the empty. If I scroll down, look, there's our error widget. So nice. What we actually need to do is just add an additional conditional up here to say can load more, and let's do can load more items empty and error is equal to null. So only when there's not an error, right? Okay, so now we're getting the expected result that I wanted, which was an error widget. Okay, so let's get rid of that print. That was just debugging. We could push through the stack. Actually, I'll push through the stack trace as well. Why not? What's my error builder? Why not? And then I don't think, does this have the, no, I thought it did. With details. Yes, the with details, and then you had to build a Flutter error from. I seem to remember there's, I thought there was like a builder for this from parts. Of course, the one time that I want to use it doesn't work. Default widget builder, Flutter error details. Sorry, I'm just drawing a blank here for a second. So I've got message. I mean, if it's just, what's the stringify doing? Hang on, what's the stringify? ToString and capturing if it's an error. Okay. So we could, in theory, just do this. Now, boom. Problem solved. Right. Default builder has stack. Oh, our things have it. Sure. Right. Come on. Where's my stack trace? Wait. Oh.
Few positional arguments.
Yeah, forgot to call it with the underscore stack trace. There we go. Right. Are you happy now?
Yay. You should be happy.
And yes, that's what I want to see. Okay. So now I did this on purpose. So I was trying to get the error display to be correct, right, the way I wanted, and with a stack trace. Why not? Right. So now back to our actual error. The problem actually is happening on our API, which is simulating the back end, where we try to get an end that's limit, that's past the end of the original list, and that's what the issue is. So this needs to be math.min, start limit mark, and then we'll import math. Math. Saves every one of us. That's Flash for anyone that doesn't know the song Flash Gordon.
Oh, right. Flash Gordon.
So now we just get 9. There we go. It doesn't try to load more. And then if I have just like 5, it should just get 5. Excellent. Now, I also noted that we've yeah, we could do take. You're not wrong. I was just going with whatever was there. We could say, yeah, skip. So skip, start, take, limit, right? Start. Rightly. And then I have to do so that we don't need the +1, do we then? Are we going to be +1 wrong? Because we're skipping that many.
By 1.
And we don't need the end calculation. Sure, let's try it. I mean, it really makes no difference. This code wouldn't even be in the app, right? Okay, no, we do need the +1. Oh, because it's the no, yeah. No, actually, what I'm saying, that was correct.
Yeah.
So, I was thinking about 5, but actually there is 5 because it's 0 index. Right. Okay. So then if I do, let's do 25 with a page count 10. So we should get 10, it will load one more page automatically at the bottom.
That's good.
9 is good. No, 9 twice. So it was
9.
so
9. It's not
it
the
is
end.
1 plus. There you go. Let's get that back.
9.
9, 9, 9, 9.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. There we go. And 10,
Yay.
19. Yeah. So it 9 to 24. And that's the bottom, right? Which is great. So 0 to 25. Now we've got the full list. We don't load any more. I guess the thing I just noticed on here that we actually go over the borders now because we don't have our safe, quote unquote, safe area in there because we're using a custom scroll view. I thought that was automatic when it's primary. And I think it's. Let's have a look. Am I right? I am wrong. Okay. So, I mean, look, there's plenty of ways of doing that. I'm just like trying to remember how the default does it. Should we go look? Look. List view. Let's go look at what list view does. We're going to dive a little bit into the framework, just a little bit. So this is where it builds that data we're building. And this uses a box scroll view. Box scroll view hosts the actual build child layout, which builds the slivers. So automatic pad from media query. So okay, so there you go. So vertical padding. Access vertical, query vertical padding. Oh, so it's copying with left and right, so it's going to set the whole padding. Okay, fine. So okay, that's one way of doing it. So if you don't specify the padding, it runs sliver padding around it. All right, let's do that. So what they're doing here is saying wrap our sliver list in the sliver padding, and the padding itself is going to be media query. They actually did, surprisingly, they actually did maybe the whole thing instead of just padding of. So I'm going to suggest that they need to go fix that. That's a bug. There's definitely a performance bug. It's not mine. It's mine. Oh, look, you can do that. Remove left and remove top. All right, but copy with, and then we're going to say left 0, right 0, which matches what they're doing effectively, and then step on the inside. All right, let's see what happens. Yay! Okay, so there you go. Push down at the top, and then if I scroll down, yeah, it's above the bottom one. Cool. And we do actually on that front. I think we reached our end here. On that front, let's do edge to turn on edge to edge, which is going to soon be the default for those that don't know. You heard it here. Can't remember which release they're going to do that in, but
yep.
And then we want system Chrome arrays. In fact, there's a slightly better way of doing that. One more. I'm going to do it in annotation here. Annotated region. We did a whole section on annotated region before for those that don't know about it, and I would highly recommend you go watch us up on that. It's definitely worth looking at. So let's go. Now it's transparent at the top and bottom, like it goes behind the content, and it still is correctly padded it in on the top and bottom to deal with it. And we have white icons because we've done a light overlay style. If you do dark, it would be dark. What's nice about this is I'm gonna show you something else, which is pretty cool. Yeah, I'm going to show you something else with the annotated region. Why I'm here, why not? So on our list tile, we're going to wrap that in an annotated region for light, right? And then what I'm going to do is increase our vertical to 16 on purpose. And then up here, I'm going to do dark. And we're going to change our material color in the background to something lighter. I don't know why I'm choosing green. It's there. Maybe not green.
Yeah.
I want to say light, but not light at the same time. Okay, that works. Great. Okay, so you see the dark, the icons on the top bar on the ID on the OS. As the dark item goes over it, look what happens. It goes white automatically. I have not written any code. That is the annotated region taken into effect. And then what happens when it gets to the gap? Dark, light, dark.
Wow.
Light. Right? That is annotated region. So the top information on your phone, the idea is it's always legible, right? So there you go. That's how you do that. If you're wondering. Right. I think she's vertical. Just because. And then since we're doing we don't need math anymore, and then I think what I'll do is I think what I'll do is just make this 50 and I'll do and just update that color of our spinner in here. Can we do like color with color scheme, right? I'm from yeah, color scheme. Sure, AI. What do you want? Let's try that. What does that do? Red. Make ourselves black.
Black on black.
That's okay. We'll change that with the brightness here. And then that's interesting. Don't have contrast scheme. Wow, that's why is that? Why have I got like a bright blue contrast level? I know there was I swear it was this. Maybe it's probably here. Neutral monochrome. There you go. Give me monochrome. There you go, white up there. We live in a monochrome world in this app. There you go. Cool. So scroll, loads more, and then at some point, right at the end. Cool. So was that interesting for people? Did they learn something?
Cool.
Oh, the debug layer one. I think we did solve that, didn't we? I feel like I did solve that. That was in. Maybe we didn't. The annotated region one. I know the one you're talking about. Wow, when was that? It was this one, I think. Layer. Oh no, you're right. We're still using debug layer as offset layer. I mean, the way you do this would be to actually just wrap it with your own render object, and you wouldn't need to access this because you can just access the layer here for production codes. Think of layer set protected. I think that's the problem, that you would have to expose it with your own render object, and that's all that you need to do in that case. That's basically making it public in your render object, and you just do a proxy render object. Get layers, it's protected. That's the only reason, right? So you could just always force it to be an offset layer and then solve it that way. So this is in the viewport key. Here's our global key, and then we put it on a repaint boundary at the moment. So a quick look. I don't think a render repaint boundary exposes layer. So look, scroll. No, all right. But is there a reason why we did a repaint boundary? I think it was just that we got that offset layer. Hang on, let me have a quick look in here. If not, then you just do a render proxy box. It's literally this. What is the rest of this doing? 2Image, don't care about that. 2Image, don't care about that. Symmetric paint count, don't care. Asymmetric paint count, don't care. Debug, don't care. So we can actually do this ourselves. So we'll just do it right now and just solve that bug you were just talking about. I'm just going to modify this one, and then I'll post an update to the gist for this file. I think this was the last one that we did. Tell me if I'm wrong about that, because I've just closed it, haven't I? Yeah. Okay. Hang on. There's today. Sorry, let's just dig through this. This is today's one, which we'll post in just a minute. Yeah, this one here. Second on the 16th. I don't think we changed it after that, because doing it onto Alice Daniels one. Part 1, 2.
That's the one. Yeah.
Cool. So that's the update. So all right. So we're good with this. I'll post that in just a second. Let's run this one up so people understand what it was. And then down here, what we want to do. Where is it? I had it here. Goodness gracious, where was I? Find debug layer. Debug layer. Okay, layer. There it is. So the new to post feature state. Yeah. Okay. So we can actually expose like this find annotations piece from our render object. That's probably slightly better. I'll just chuck it in here and say, so I'll say class news post list layer. Sure. And that's going to be a single child. No, it's a proxy. The proxy widget. I think the proxy widget has the. No, it doesn't. No, I want a single child render object widget. Yeah. Cool. What's going on here? Oh, I spelled wrong. That'd be one. There we go. Cool. Right. That's going to create a render object, which is going to be our underscore render post list layer. Return that from our render object. That build, that was just that. And super child. Make that required. Why is it? Because private. Get that in a second. Right. Okay. Cool. So doing that gives us the layer, and then what we can do is we can expose our layer. As an offset layer. I think we just set it actually, but where am I? I want that one. I want. So a quick look, make sure I'm not being an idiot. I'm pretty sure. Render proxy box. Okay, so layer as offset. Yeah, I think when you have a repaint mode, it automatically makes it an offset layer. So I'm just going to override it as that, and we'll see what happens. I think when you enable the flag, it creates an offset layer. If I remember rightly, it's been a while. Oh, I closed it. Oh, yeah. So we'll put our underscore new post list layer thing there. Have our key on it, and then if we do this right, our render post list layer, yeah, we can get rid of that. We can just say override with offset layer. Super layer, offset layer. Is this nullable? All right. Too many. Hang on, let me go. Let me go back and dig that out again. No, that should take me to it. Super layer. Anyway, it is nullable. Cool. So we'll do that. Cool. So now we expose the layer. We shouldn't effectively need to do that if we move the. Well, first of all, get this working, and if this works, then we'll drop in a. We'll move this code out of here into there, basically. So, all right. So now we can say viewport current context, find render object. Render object equals this as underscore post render out list. And then that render object dot layer think we'll do what we want. Let's find out. Restart. Well, it didn't crash. Oh yeah, I remember we did this, and then that was me putting that header in. Hang on, placeholder. I was fiddling around with this, and then I broke the scrolling because I put that in there. I remember. I don't know if I published it with that actually saying that. I think about it, but all right. Scroll. Found post 0. Oh, 0.10, 0.5. Isn't me that's jumping, right? I don't think it was supposed to jump either. Did I break it just now, or did we? Let's do debug there and just see if that actually made a difference. Otherwise, I may have to leave this for another time. Let's have a look. As offset layer. Okay.
Jumping still.
Yeah.
At least it looks like
I must have broken this at some point when we were fiddling around with stuff and I didn't put it back. All right, hang on. Let me go take a look at the posts and then I need to wrap up in a minute.
yeah.
We are running over. On me? Yeah, we're running way over. We had 2 hours 44 minutes. Is that what we're on? 2 hours 39 minutes. Oh Christ. Okay, yeah. Let me just go find this. This was on 16th of the 7th. Let's go see. No, August. All right, 16. Number 2, 16th of the 7th. All right, I've got the code from Gist here. Remind me to post today's code, otherwise I'm going to forget. Right. I'm going to just replace the whole code with that and to see if it still actually works. No. So we managed to post. Oops.
Jim and I added after the show, see if we can find the flaw.
Do we have one on the same day? Something else. Super scale. Well, crap. Well, the layer thing will work the way I'm doing it. I'm just going to post it with that change, and then, yeah, the fact that we'll have to come back and fix what's going on with the scrolling there. Let's put this back to what we had because I know it's going to work. And then the find annotations piece, annotation result. Let's move that out. And what I actually want to do is inside our layer, we'll do we'll do something like annotation result. And that then means we can actually just take this and just do layer as offset layer. If layer does not equal null, and annotation results, right? Don't need that anymore. No, we can't. Oh, because it's a getter. Oh, yeah, my bad. This should be layer case offset layer. So we have an offset there, and then we'll use it. Yeah, perfect. Cool. We don't need that anymore. Okay, so now if we go back to our thing in here, we can find out render object and then call find annotations on it with
those if cases really come in handy now. I'm using them like almost all the time, especially inside a collection role, because I can, leave entire parts out or store a temporary value for a few expressions. Fun stuff.
Actual pass T across. In fact, that might be T. Yes, T on the function. Thank you. Extends object. Fine. Like everything extends objects. I don't know why I need to do that, but sure.
No, that would stop a null.
Yeah, but I'm not making nullable with T question mark. Who cares? Right, find annotations. Local position. Why did you magically put local? I don't want to put local. Yeah, why? Okay, so now we just kind of slightly improved that with if we get annotated results. Yeah, so we're definitely doing fine. Do you know what? It says here we're not reading it. We're setting it, but we're not reading it, which is where the bug comes from for sure. Hang a minute.
Something get commented out that needs to be in there.
No, that should be fine. Isn't that the same with persist? Oh no, that's it. That's why it's not working. That's our magical view that actually does the thing that we needed to do. How about that? Let's replace it. He says, and then it breaks.
Yeah, I think that's where you got stuck, and you were
null check.
Yep.
What? Why you got null check? No, we definitely had that all working. I know we did. Well, that's annoying. All right, well, look, I'll post this, and then at least you've got your fix for the layer. The list last time you got. Well, we'll leave it for a week. But anyway, I'll post this. At least that's improved. Right. I'm going to edit the previous gist, and update the code. So we've got history there. So that's been updated. That's the preserving scroll thing. I know that's posted in there. We had I remember we had the preserving scroll working. So I'll have to go and figure that one out. And then I'm just going to post today's gist, and then we're going to end the show. So I guess it's time for you to do a dance.
And again, see everybody on Observable Flutter tomorrow, or we'll be doing some more with Gemini. Craig's going to be driving this time. I'm just going to be do, so that'll be fun.
So, you're not going to be doing anything this week? Just going to be observing?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have to help them along with good prompts. So because I've learned a few things about using Gemini CLI to get stuff moved forward. So I will be there steering him so he can steer Gemini.
Sorry, it's like I've got some vision of you like steering him like a tank or something.
I'm pulling the strings. I'm doing the strings above Craig's head, and he's going to be typing like
All the
this,
strings, yeah.
like
What we
like
calling this?
the Super Marionation. You know, he's going to be doing like this with his little wooden arms.
What were we calling today's code?
Pagination was sort of
Is it
the
like pagination example?
yeah, sure.
Feels like there should be like a better name for that. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess we'll just do pagination. Content pagination. And then today's date is the 13th. Unlucky for some. Right, 13th of August 2025, and the YouTube video content pagination, blah 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 blah. Go.
And we have one question that came in while you were live coding, but it might just be a quick
Might be a
deferral
quick
to
one.
what
Why
I
not?
said.
Right.
Well,
Today's before we jump into that, to say that today's code is posted on this link in the chat. Go grab it. Go on. Sorry.
Okay. That's cool. Show how to bottom navbar overlapping issues in Android 15. That sounds like it's more than a 30-second answer.
Please show how to bottom navbar overlap issue in 15.
How to fix. Maybe.
That's just edge to edge. What we just did, enabling edge to edge, and then literally what we just did. You get the padding from the view from the media query, and then use that as your padding on the bottom of your navbar. Done.
Cool. So we actually showed it without knowing it. Excellent.
I mean, if there's something that I'm missing, please come back next week and we can take a look at it for sure.
5 hours from now, yes.
Right. Cool. That's it for today. Thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll see you same place, same time next week.
See some of you tomorrow.
Yeah. Bye for now.